Trinity Ghoul is one of the most powerful ad-clearing weapons I've ever seen in Destiny 2. For a bow anyway. What makes this weapon so unique is the ability to chain lightning kills, which is actually what makes the weapon so good for ad clearing in most types of content. Now we know Trinity Ghoul is a pretty decent exotic for it being an energy weapon, but how does it actually perform in PvE currently in 2022? And well, more importantly, how does it compete against other exotic bows like the Ticuu's Divination? Is one better than the other? Are they both good? Well, in this video we'll break down and re-review the Trinity Ghoul in 2022, looking at the stats of the weapon, how it performs in PvE and PvP, the pros and cons, and all that crazy stuff. Everything will be timestamped, so you can skip ahead if you wish to, because these review videos tend to be a bit longer than I usually want them. Now this video is being sponsored by AoE, so if you're looking for cheap Destiny 2 silver, then be sure to check them out below and use my code DIVIDE when checking out for a sweet discount. But guys, this is your Trinity Ghoul updated review and breakdown for season 15 and beyond. Be sure to leave a rating, and let's dive straight into it. Before we start, if you enjoy these sort of videos, then feel free to check out the playlist below, as I do often update old exotics for the current year of Destiny 2, which you may find really useful if you're a new or returning player that hasn't played for a while. Now in this video, most of the background gameplay will be a mixture of a few different dungeons and strikes. You can use Trinity Ghoul in things like a Grandmaster Nightfall, but it won't perform as good. And I thought using it in slightly easier content would be a better demonstration of how the exotic works, as you really want to use the weapon for ad clearing on a bunch of ads rather than single target powerful ads. So as always, we need to know how to get the weapon first. So how do you get Trinity Ghoul in Destiny 2 Beyond Light, or Witch Queen in 2022? Now Trinity Ghoul has been around since Season 4 of Destiny 2, so to currently obtain Trinity Ghoul as of Season 15, you need to find them within exotic engrams. These can be from the Season Pass, random world loot drops from enemies, or pinnacle packages, or even Xur on a weekend. There isn't really a targeted farm to get the weapon, so it can be random from engrams, but if it's the only thing you're missing, then Xur's exotic engram should drop it for you. At least, the chance will be higher for each time you do unlock more and more exotics. For the Trinity Ghoul Catalyst, as of Season of the Lost, Season 15, the Catalyst will drop randomly from playing strikes in the Vanguard playlist, but this will only drop once you obtain the weapon to begin with. Now like all these guide videos, if you're having any issues getting the Trinity Ghoul Catalyst, or well, Trinity Ghoul itself, then be sure to comment down below and I'll do my best to help you out for whatever season you're watching this in. Now Trinity Ghoul is an energy exotic arc bow that uses primary ammo. Now with primary ammo now being infinite ammo since Season 15 launched back in August, it makes Trinity Ghoul so much better, as you can just shoot non-stop with the chaining abilities, but the perks Trinity Ghoul have are High Tension String, Compact Arrow Shaft, and Lightning Rod. Now what Lightning Rod does is grant the next shot after a precision kill chain lightning capabilities. Now this is crazy if you have the Catalyst, which we will get to shortly, but what this basically does is chain the lightning to nearby enemies, which is what makes it so effective for ad clearing and PvE content. The main exotic trait we have is called Split Electron, which reads, fires an arrow that splits when released. Aiming down sights and fully drawing the bow both decreases the spread. Now what makes Trinity Ghoul insane is its Catalyst, which lets Lightning Rod trigger from any arc damage final blow. Now this means you can use Trinity Ghoul to kill ads without precision kills to trigger the Lightning Rod perk, or any arc ability like a grenade. So in other words, after every kill with Trinity Ghoul, you'll be able to activate the Lightning Rod to then ad clear to a much higher scale. And well, because the Lightning Rod is chaining to ads and killing them, which is also classed as an arc final blow, means that you're gonna have the perk activated after every single kill in most low to mid tier content anyway, like strikes, dungeons and raids. It won't be as effective in things like a master or grandmaster activity, but it will still be an option to use, as it still works well, just not after every single shot like easier modes, because you won't always get the final blow in one shot. As for the damage and range, it's not terrible, but the draw time feels a little slow, but that's really due to the weapon not having Archer's tempo and perks that really make it faster. However, it's still better than nearly every other bow in my opinion, due to the fact that you can kill everything faster with the chain and lightning, rather than having to shoot every single ad individually. So taking a look at PvE, how does Trinity Ghoul perform in there, and what sort of activity should you use it in? Well honestly, there's not really a straight answer, because it really depends on the activity itself. Now while Trinity Ghoul will perform good in all types of PvE, it really depends on what you have in the activity. Take this Master Lost sector for example, we have overloads and unstoppables. Now while the Trinity Ghoul covers the overloads, it won't cover the match game shields, for this one anyway. So it depends on the activity and what you have in there to really determine if you would use this weapon, but the weapon will perform just as good in a master activity like any normal difficulty activity. Of course, it will take you more shots to kill an enemy, but the chain lightning perk is still pretty effective inside of endgame content. Places I suggest using this weapon in would be a Legend of Master Lost sector, dungeons, raids, nightfalls, but you really want to use it for ad clearing specifically and nothing more really. The downside though to using Trinity Ghoul inside of endgame PvE is that you're going to lose out on an exotic heavy heavy that you could use for potential DPS like a 1000 voices. But if you're dedicated to just ad clearing, then it really shouldn't matter. I wouldn't use it in solo activities unless you have a ton of ads like the Moon Lost sectors and you really just want to get through it quickly. Only use this when playing solo if you do have a lot of ads but not a super tough boss, because the last thing you want is no boss DPS and only a Trinity Ghoul, or you'll just be sat there for ages unloading hundreds of arrows on the enemy. Now currently as of season 15 we have overload bows for our mods, which makes this weapon worth using in PvE. If we didn't have overload bows, or well, any bow mod to stop some sort of champion, then I simply would avoid using this weapon altogether in endgame content where champions are present, because you may be forced to use double primary weapons and you really shouldn't do that. Either way though, it's definitely worth your time in PvE, and you guys should pick up this thing and give it a try because it's one of the best ad clearing weapons in Destiny 2 currently, and well, not gonna lie, it's also pretty fun to use. I would only use it though if you do have the catalyst, and you should try to pair it with a good arc grenade build to make it as effective as possible. Now what about PvP? Trinity Ghoul in PvP is okay. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. The only downside is that if you're going to use it in PvP, then you really want to 1. Make sure you get the final blow to activate the lightning rod, and 2. Try and target groups of enemies together. Now this is usually a problem when it comes to certain Crucible game modes, because you're not always going to find 2 or more players together, but for the times you do, it will help you out a lot when you're fighting them. Now I'm no god when it comes to PvP, especially with bows and snipers, so I'm just going to give you my opinion here. I personally myself wouldn't use this in PvP over other exotic bows. If I have to use an exotic bow in PvP, I'd probably go with Monarque or Ticuu's Divination. These 2 exotics are pretty good and usually guarantee you a kill in a 1v1 if you can time it perfectly. Now one place I would recommend using this in is Gambit. From previous experience in Gambit, you can ad clear so quickly with this thing, it's not even funny. If you have multiple people running this, then it'll be even faster and you'd get to your primeval boss in no time, but you'd have to make sure you have a good heavy weapon for when it comes to boss DPS. So how does Trinity Ghoul compete against other exotic bows in the energy slot? Well, firstly you have Ticuu's Divination, and this can be pretty lethal for doing solo flawless activities, and it's essentially your go-to when doing hard content solo, as it's fairly good for ad clearing and, well, I mean, it's pretty much your solo version of Trinity Ghoul. Ticuu's works in a similar way to Trinity, where it's effective for area of effect damage to clear ads in a large group. But you can also pair it with Warmind builds when using Wrath of Rasputin to generate Warmind cells from its explosive kills. Now you do also have Monarque on the other hand, which will poison enemies, but this bow isn't great for endgame content. I mean, sure, it's a bow that poisons enemies, but for what it does, I simply wouldn't waste an exotic slot for that, and I'd much prefer to use Ticuu's Divination or Trinity Ghoul, but competing Trinity against Ticuu's both come really close with each other, as both are S tier exotics that do a great job in endgame PvE. Now if I had to choose one or the other, I'd honestly go with Ticuu's Divination, and the only reason for that is the fact that, well, for me, it feels a lot easier to use and maintain in harder content, as you don't need to get the final blow to detonate the explosions. You only need to hip fire one shot and then ADS one shot, whereas Trinity, you have to get the final blow with arc damage to activate the lightning rod. Now don't get me wrong, both are perfect, but if it came down to choosing one or the other, Ticuu's Divination would come first in my opinion. But then again, you have to factor in what activity you're doing to determine which weapon would really be the best fit. Trinity Ghoul has a lot of pros but also some cons. Now for the pros, it's definitely one of the best exotic energy weapons in the game. It's really effective against all types of minor ads, especially in large groups. It can really speed up activities that you're trying to complete quickly solo, and it pairs great with some arc grenade builds. Now on your downside, it's not great against major ads like knights, as well as champions, whereas Ticuu's Divination can get through a champion much faster, as you'll be able to detonate the explosion every 2 shots, whereas Trinity Ghoul requires a kill to activate that lightning rod. Now overall, Trinity Ghoul is by far my favourite exotic bow alongside Ticuu's Divination, and I'm ranking this one a good 10 out of 10 for how the effectiveness is and how well balanced it is in PvE content. A lot of primary exotics in Destiny 2 really aren't that great in PvE, and they're just too underpowered to handle endgame content. Take the Wishender for example, there's just so many better alternatives to use, so why would you use them? Trinity Ghoul is by far the best primary ammo bow to use inside of PvE, and I'd strongly recommend you get your hands on one as soon as you can, because you'll love using this weapon, although you really want the catalyst though to be as efficient as possible. Now I'm open to all opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys think of Trinity Ghoul in 2022, and would you use it? And where would you use it? But this has been your Trinity Ghoul re-review in 2022, and is it worth using? Next, as always, be sure to check out that playlist down below for more Is It Worth It videos, as I cover updated weapon reviews, breakdowns, and more here on the channel, and you might find them useful. But for now, I've been Divide, and until next time, peace.